You can use a wide variety of materials for this project. I used a cheap wood sign blank, some craft paint, foam brushes, scrapbook paper, scissors, Mod Podge, and I also had a silhouette to cut out my design, but you wouldn't necessarily need one. First, apply a background coat to your wood sign to begin. Once I've applied a base coat and allowed it to dry, I'll sand the edges to make sure they're nice and smooth. Then I'll take my base layer of scrapbook paper, turn it upside down, and use my fingers to lightly emboss the edges of the face of the stall sign. Pressing gently over the face will give me an indentation where the face of the stall sign is. Once that's done, I can use the edge of my pencil, keeping it very light, to just trace around. Keep in mind I'm not drawing the edges in, I'm allowing the pencil to shade in the area of the face of the stall sign. Wherever the edge is, the pencil will lay down a darker color so that I can easily see when I cut out what the shape should be. Once I've gone all the way around, I'll use my scissors to cut out the design. Once that's done, I'll turn over the piece of paper, scrapbook paper, and just dry fit it. Make sure that it looks good. And it does look pretty good. Because I did sand all the rough edges off the project, I am missing a little paint in some areas. So I'm going to take a darker color yellow and just paint along the edges to fill in any areas that were missing paint due to the sanding. Once this is all done, I'll use a clean brush and apply Mod Podge, outdoor Mod Podge, to the back of my stall sign background, as well as to the face of the stall sign itself. Don't worry, this Mod Podge goes on white, but it will dry clear. I'll carefully place my design onto the face of the stall sign, and then just use Mod Podge liberally around the edges. Here I had a little extra paper, so I'm just trimming it so it fits a little bit better. I'll lay everything back down and go back over it with Mod Podge. The paper will remain pliable for a little bit, so if you get any wrinkles or need to reposition it, you should be able to do that. Once it lays nice and smooth, I'm going to grab my pink paper just to make sure that the color I picked coordinates well, and it does. Next up, I want to choose a great font. I really like to use DaFont to pick out my fonts. The reason is that you can browse fonts by type, and you can also type in the word that you're wanting to try the font out in and see what that word's going to look like in the font before you even download it. Once I find the font that I like, I'll go ahead and install it so that I can use it in my Silhouette program. Please keep in mind that all of these fonts are not royalty free, so if you are going to be using this to resell your project, you may want to think about purchasing fonts on a place like Creative Market. Now that I have the font that I like, I've opened up a new blank project in my Silhouette software. I'll type the name of the horse and then pick the font I like. I do know that my scrapbook paper, my pink one, is 8.5 by 11. So I'll go ahead and set my page size to match. I had to kind of mess around with this a little bit because I hadn't used the software in quite a long time, but there's plenty of tutorials available for the Silhouette machine and software available on YouTube. Keep in mind, you don't have to have a Silhouette machine in order to be able to make this project. You could hand letter, sketch out your letters, so you could do a wide variety of different things to get them printed. Once I got that all printed out, I discovered that the pink didn't show up very well in the background. So I got my Silhouette out again and I printed out just a little strip to go across the middle. Because I didn't know the exact size, I will have to trim it to fit. Once I do that, I go ahead and dry fit everything just to make sure it's going to look good, that I made my strip big enough for my letters, and then it stands out nicely. And it does. So I'm going to go ahead and use Mod Podge, the outdoor one again, on the back of my yellow strip, as well as on the face of the paper, the background paper. Then I'll Mod Podge around the edges, just so that's laying down nicely. Once again, don't worry, the Mod Podge is going to dry clear. Then I'll pick up my letter, and there was some very thin parts of the letter, so I'll be careful not to rip it, but just apply Mod Podge to the background. Place it nicely. And I can stagger the case a little bit, make sure my letters line up nicely. The U was a little bit too wide. And then I'll liberally apply Mod Podge around all of the letters, adhering them in place. Once the letters are positioned, I'll go ahead and use Mod Podge again around the whole stall sign, including all of the sides. This is outdoor Mod Podge, so it will make a nice weatherproof finish. Keep in mind that you will want to do several coats. I recommend at least 3, but you do need to let it dry fully between each coat. So once I was done, I went ahead and let mine dry outside. Stay tuned for the finished product. If you've enjoyed this video, and I do hope that you have, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and visit our blog at www.helpfulhorsehens.com, where you can find lots of different articles on topics related to horses. Thank you so much.